Hey, good morning, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Furman Transformation Podcast. Got a very cool topic for today. Always have a cool topic, but today we got a great cool topic as well. And we made it to episode 15. So, absolutely, we're trucking along here and got a great topic for you guys today. The topic is going to be the themes, in productizing your products and product development, the themes of personalization and self-expression. And I think this is a really interesting topic. So, as we discuss these, we get into a lot. We're starting to get into a lot of themes now. These are overlying themes or underlying themes that are existing within the development of many of these products and services in tech right now. And I think understanding them is very important. Understanding what they mean for you, and then sort of how you can capitalize on them and incorporate them into your products is very, very important. So I wanted to discuss these two themes that I've seen quite often that are existing and also coming about. And they are the themes of personalization and self-expression. Okay. Now, the reason that I address these two in the same podcast is they are almost opposites of each other. So I'll give you an example of how. So essentially, just to define what personalization versus what self-expression is, personalization is essentially when you have massive amounts of data collection that understands who you are and what you do and what your habits and what your essentially what your preferences look like, and then personalize those things to you. Okay, and then a lot of that will be done through IoT, but that's, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. But a lot of that's already been done. Essentially, with Facebook is a great example how they collect massive amounts of information about you. You willingly disclose that information. Same with any of these social networks, but Facebook is a big one. Not saying that it's good or bad, but you are giving willingly your information. Consumers know what they're doing. And then essentially for them to gather information about you and then to personalize things to you, particularly advertisements is a big one. So it allows advertisers to personalize ads to you. So that's personalization, but also they personalize their features and they make it more accommodating. So there's nothing good or bad about personalization. It just is what it is. And it is a theme that with the digital age has become much more prominent. With the collection of big data has become much more prominent because now we understand the consumer better. We can tailor specific solutions to that consumer, specifically tailored, and it's personalized, and it's a nice touch. It makes you feel good. Now, the flip side to that is with personalization comes a loss of a level of privacy. So it comes loss of privacy. Now, again, this is any time a consumer utilizes a product, they're acknowledging what they're doing. So if you're a heavy social media user, you know what you're doing. You don't have to use social media, but if you do, you are inherently giving up that amount of privacy. Okay. Now, where this becomes interesting, the reason I put these two topics together because that was personalization. Self-expression, I feel, has actually diminished in the acceleration of information technology. And because, especially a lot, you know, like again, I've mentioned, millennials growing up in a very social media centric world where everything is about what you're projecting to people. It's almost as if your entire life is putting on a show, and so they live behind social media as what they're portraying, and that is incorporated into what's the engine that's in front of them. The problem with that is because their lives are so accessible to such massive amounts of people that they feel they have to do that, they don't have the same level of self-expression that somebody who is at the latter end of the millennials or older would have had growing up, being able to freely express themselves with their friends, where there was no high level of accountability of maybe looking silly or looking embarrassing and something like that, where now that's a big factor. So you could see how personalization, being the outcome of data collection and the outcome of yeah, essentially allowing personalization is the opposite of self-expression. They are both going to be needed. Personalization will drastically increase, and that's happening with momentum already, and that's going to continue to get even more and more. Again, like I said with IoT, but self-expression I think is a huge opportunity, and so I think it's important to realize both of these and figure out how you can capitalize on both of these in your businesses, and which ones are you're more inclined to. I think to know is important. So let me just see here. So I've got a couple notes. So I mentioned IoT will allow for a massive amount of personalization. So if you're unfamiliar with IoT or the Internet of Things, which you're probably very familiar if you're in tech, it's essentially the concept of, and I'm going to take a quick sip of water. It's essentially the concept that everything around you, every object, everything in your house, everything that you live alongside will have sensors in it and taking in data about what you do, what your habits are, what your preferences are, to the point where it will know you also through AI enough to where you'll actually ultimately have the perfect conditions around you at all times. Okay, that is the epitome, the ultimate example of personalization, and we are headed in that direction. Just so you can get a visual, it will be like walking into a house, your house, and immediately just the right temperature goes on that you like, whether that's 76 or 75 degrees, or maybe you like an ice box, maybe it's 65, I don't know, whatever it is, it'll know exactly, it'll flip right to it. Maybe your favorite song will come on, just depending on what it's reading as your emotion or your state. It'll know maybe what artist to put on to get you into a better mood or a better feeling or more relaxed or more comfortable. And your entire house, your mattress will be inclined just the way that you like it, around just a certain way. If you have maybe a back injury or anything like that, everything will be accustomed to you perfectly to where you feel extremely comfortable in your environment. And that's the goal of personalization, is to ultimately personalize everything. Okay, so personalization is very, very important. It will increase with IoT. As things become smart, there'll be more data collection, more intelligence behind the data collection, and ultimately more personalized solutions. Everything will become personalized. Now, again, with increased data collection, there's a lessening of privacy and a more of a hindrance for self-expression, because then you're thinking, well, even in the privacy of my own home, am I private? Whereas now you're just thinking, well, what I put on social networks, maybe this is not private. Well, extrapolate that to the fact where you're living in essentially a social network. Everything is on the cloud. Everything is connected. So there is a much, much higher level when you think about it of, do I have privacy or not? So the other thing that will come out of personalization, out of necessity, will come the need to have self-expression free environments. Okay, that's profound. When you really think about those two concepts right now and the way that I just positioned it, that's profound. Okay, so you've got one thing that you know is going to be a huge demand for, you can capitalize on that. Now here's another thing that will be a huge demand that's going to come out of the immense production of personalization, which is self-expression. Okay, now self-expression has started to make a comeback in IT, and I'll give you the perfect example. And one of the reasons I love Snapchat is I love talking about Snapchat, is that Snapchat was the perfect example of that, where you had Facebook, where very, very centric on personalization, and again, nothing good, nothing bad about it, but they were made a lot of money. They were very successful doing that, which is it's a part of our everyday lives for most of us. But now to counter that, you had to have a nice counter to that, it was self-expression. It was, so Snapchat introduced Snapchat, or Snap introduced Snapchat, which essentially Snap now, but essentially is a way that you can now, instead of now, share pictures of yourself, silly pictures, fun pictures. Millennials can do that, or other people. It doesn't matter your age. can share these pictures with each other, and then and you could be silly, and you can look stupid or silly or funny or whatever you want to call it, goofy, and it doesn't matter because unlike Facebook, it's not storing that photo and making it a permanent part of your profile. It's just something that you share and you laugh about it and you have fun, and then it deletes. So it allows for self-expression. And I think this is one of the first products that I've seen that's starting to move in that direction. And I think there's going to be, now I think a lot of people are on the personalization bandwagon. Much, much fewer people are on the self-expression bandwagon. So if you can start to see the world through the need for self-expression, I think there's going to be a huge, enormous demand for it. Now, one of the biggest areas, and this is what I'll leave it with, that I see the evolution of self-expression is going to come out of, I believe is going to start to come out of virtual reality. Because virtual reality will allow us to have, whereas people, are going to have less and less in-person interactions because everything is going to be digital around them. Virtual reality will be the one sort of escape. Well, yeah, there'll still be some level of data collection, but there'll be ways to have that level of escape into different worldly environments, different areas of the world, different places, different things, and experience different things with people through that medium. And it won't all have to be, tracked or data centric. To some extent, that may come into the picture, but the goal of it, I believe, will not be that. I hope will not be that. And I think there will be ways that will allow, and the idea for virtual reality will be to allow a massive amount of self-expression to flourish again. I think it's going to allow for that. I really feel that. I really believe that, and I hope that. And I think that that's what it's going to satisfy for us. A deep desire for self-satisfaction, for self-expression. And so ways that we'll do that, again, exploring new worlds, different areas of the world, whether they be real or manufactured, allow us to explore virtual environments with our friends, with people that we're close with, and see things in a new light with people that we want to bond with it, or bond with people through those experiences, through those adventures. I think another example is you hear talkings about, this is something I've heard about, not sure at what stage this type of product is at, but there will be essentially a mechanism or mechanisms where couples or friends or anybody will be able to literally swap perspectives. So you could essentially live a day through your friend's eyes in their house and their job and everything that they go through, and gain an enormous amount of expression and understanding and empathy and human realizations from that that you'll want to keep for your own, and you won't necessarily want to share that. It won't necessarily become anything part of data and personalization. It'll become something of self-expression. And it's going to be a whole different separate market, a whole separate area. This area of self-expression, this area of understanding, of realization, of empathy, and exploring sense of self, where you will be able to actually, live in somebody else's body and somebody else's perspective of life, and totally swap and see things and see the world through an entirely different light, and express yourself in an entirely different light, and allow yourself to evolve in an entirely different light. And so that's kind of what I want to leave it at today. Just a few ideas to really spark your creativity and figure out how you can start to incorporate these things into what you're doing, and which one are you more inclined to do. Now, I'll mention again, I believe they have to be kept separate. So either you're going to gear much more towards personalization, or you're going to gear much more towards self-expression. I don't think these things can intertwine. I don't think there's a way to do it, because I think that to do personalization as well as self-expression will be to violate self-expression, and to do self-expression in addition to personalization will be a hindrance to personalization. So really think about it. Really think about what you're more inclined to be able to allow to flourish, and then really incorporate that and accentuate that and expedite the effectiveness of that in your product or service. And I believe that's another great theme that you can really think about and really find that winning edge for yourself within these two themes. So again, thanks so much for listening. It's been a Furman Transformation podcast. Pleasure to be here with you guys as always. Again, we're Furman Transformation. We are a growth agency for growth stage tech companies. Whatever technology you're working on, IoT, AI, if you're in neuroscience, energy, robotics, if you're a retail store and you're just looking to get involved with these technological trends and you're looking to grow, reach out to me. Give me a call. I want to hear from you. I love talking to new prospects and new clients, and we want to help you out. We want to take you guys to the next level, whether that be through the sales engine, the marketing engine, the PR engine, you name it. We want to take you guys to the next level. We want to be a part. We're going to be a part of this change. And so we want you to be on this bandwagon with us. We want to really, really bring you guys to the next level and bring all these cool things to the next level. So you give me a call, you reach out, feel free anytime, free consultations. Jonathan Furman, Furman Transformation, 561-571-0638. And we look forward to hearing from you soon. Thanks so much.